Welcome to episode 109 of the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro podcast, recorded live January 4, 2019. This is a show about Office 365, Azure, and the IT Pro and end user side of life, where we discuss a topic or recent news related to Office 365 or Azure and how it relates to you as an IT Pro. In today's episode, we spent some time chatting about My Analytics, Stream, security in Office 365, and containers in Azure. Good morning, Scott. I'm on coffee number 2 today.
Ooh, today was a sad day in my house because I've lost or gone to the last gingerbread persons and houses and things, which are excellent to dip in coffee in the morning.
So are they your own gingerbread men in gingerbread houses, or are they your kids' gingerbread men in gingerbread houses that you have confiscated due to caring about their health and limiting their sugar intake?
Yes, let's go with the latter. Sure, let's go with that.
It's all how you spin it.
Mm-hmm. What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today? Do you want me to start with some of my Office 365 news? I was going to say goodness. Some of it is good, some of it is interesting, and some of it's just news.
Let's go off on a tangent or a rant.
Tangent. I'm going to start with the non-ranty one.
Oh.
We'll start with happy news. It's Friday. Let's be happy in the morning. Oh, this is going downhill in a hurry. My Analytics. Have you used My Analytics before?
I have used My Analytics before. It has not been broadly available, and it's been locked into some higher licenses, so I haven't used it every place. And I was actually a little bit sad when I came into my current role. We don't do E5s, we do E3s, and we didn't have access to it.
Well, the good news is you should any day now, because it has been. Like you said, My Analytics is now broadly available for all of your enterprise plans. So like you said, it used to be E5. Now it is available for E1 and E3 as well. And I think it's business plans too, isn't it? Here it is. Yep. Business Essentials.
It is in the business suites. Yeah. Business Essentials, Premium E1, E3, and E5.
I do not see the F plans in here though.
No, just the E1s, not the F ones.
So if you are on an E plan or we could start calling them B plans. If you're on an E plan or a business plan, this is rolling out in January. So they don't have any official timelines for when it will be available, but you will be getting it to get some insights into your workday. So one thing about licensing that you and I were both looking at, we're not entirely sure, and Microsoft doesn't call it out, is My Analytics is a separate assignment, a separate license within that E5 plan right now. So we are assuming it's going to show up as a separate license or a separate product, I guess, within the E1 or the E3. And I don't know if that's going to be turned on by default or turned off by default, or if Microsoft will even intelligently try to turn it on based on if, hey, you have all the E1 stuff selected, we're just going to give you this. And if you kind of have that E1 or E3 customized, maybe it'll be off by default. They don't really call that out in the documentation or the blog post. So once we figure it out, maybe we can let you know. I looked at some of mine and I do not see it yet available for my E1 users, but I've had it in E5 now for a while.
Yeah, I'd imagine the biggest impact there would probably be if you do any type of automated licensing inside of Azure AD. So say you're doing like Azure AD group-based licensing or something to that effect, and it is a feature that you're interested in giving to users, you might have to go back and redo some of that configuration on the Azure Active Directory side.
Yes, that is another good point. But once you get it, it's interesting. I play with it. I don't look at mine as much as I could, but some of the analytics, if you haven't played with it before, you haven't looked at it because you don't have an E5 and you're like, I don't really want to know what I'm missing. It gives you certain statistics about your day, your activities around stuff like meeting hours. So if you're scheduling your Outlook meetings, how many hours are you actually spending a week in meetings? This is always interesting to me, is how many hours are you spending in your email? Granted, this could be, I don't know all the details they use to figure this out on the back end, But essentially, it's maybe if your mouse is active in Outlook or if you have Outlook open and it has focus. I spend a lot more time in email than I think I realized. And then it shows things like how much you've worked after hours, how many focus hours you have, blocks of like 4 hours where you don't have meetings scheduled. And then the really interesting one, that is how many meetings you spend multitasking. So how many meetings do you have where you're scheduled in a meeting on your calendar, but you're doing things like poking around a SharePoint site or in your email, all of that. I am oftentimes embarrassed to admit how much time I spend multitasking in meetings, which means I may not necessarily be paying as much attention as I should be.
Yeah, that's, I too am very guilty of that one. I actually used to like it a whole lot. If you're into companies that have that kind of go culture, it can be very insightful for some of that after hours kind of stuff. I sometimes just say, and a little bit flippantly, like if I'm going on vacation or if it's a weekend and I don't want anybody to get a hold of me, I will just delete email off of my phone. And one of the ways that I got to that realization that I had to do that was email's kind of just as addicting as Twitter or Facebook or something else, especially when you have like an interesting project rolling around. So I'm actually very deliberate in the way I manage that stuff. And I got deliberate about it because of some of the stuff that was coming out of my analytics. So, I found that I was spending more time at nights in email sometimes than I was during the day, because maybe I was running to customer meetings during a day or doing a lot of calls or other things, which meant now I had to do all the work at night. Well, got to start carving out time, putting that kind of focus block on the calendar. And the weekends one is always truly enlightening. Like, think about how many times you pick up your phone and actually run into that. So for like me, I do my work email outside of the native mail app on all my mobile devices. So I just put it inside of Outlook. And, if I don't want to be bothered, I just delete Outlook. It's okay. Outlook goes away. You know what? It's still going to be there on Monday.
And the meetings one can be interesting too. If you have a boss that's saying, well, why aren't you getting these projects done? Why are you falling behind on these? And you pull up that meetings thing and you're like, well, I'm spending 30 hours a week in meetings. That tells a lot about how much time you actually have to get work done when you're not sitting in a meeting. So they can be very enlightening, and they're continuing to add even more to it. So I don't know if this one's fairly new, relatively new, maybe new since you had my analytics, is they have an Outlook plugin now too. So if I'm in my Outlook and I click on my analytics, it gives me some of those stats, but it also goes through and looks at your email and tries to intelligently pull out to-dos. So emails where you responded to somebody saying, hey, I'll take a look at that, or I'll get you that information, automatically start popping up in this to-do list in analytics. So you can just quickly pop open analytics and say, hey, was there something I told somebody I'd do for them that I missed or forgot about? And it gives you that option to quickly go through and say, yep, I did this. I took care of this email, or remind me about it. I haven't played with it enough, and I don't understand yet is if you click remind me about this later, where it actually goes, because these to-dos don't sit in your Outlook to-dos or in Microsoft to-do or in any task list that I can find. So it would be really, in my opinion, it would be really nice if you could actually go into this to-do list that it intelligently grabs from your emails and say, go add this to my task list or add this to Microsoft To Do, and be able to intelligently surface those tasks and prompt me to add them to one of those task management apps that Microsoft already has. And maybe they're getting there, but that's another nice feature that it has caught a couple emails where I'm like, oh, I never actually sent that person that item. And it helps prompt me, remind me to go take care of some of that stuff.
I use Cortana a lot for that today. So I have the little bot that monitors my mailbox and says, hey, you said you were going to follow up with this person. Did you do that? I worry about having too many tools there. And then it just becomes another email and another distractor and another thing to pull you away from what you are actually supposed to be doing. We'll see where all this stuff pans out.
It's definitely interesting. And I feel like it's not a knock on Microsoft, but I feel like a lot of this stuff, they roll out all this new stuff without thinking about how it might all work together. And some of this, I feel like it started and never actually finished. It's just kind of left half-baked without ever really coming to a conclusion or bringing it all together in a complete solution or package the way I would prefer at times.
You're a dreamer. You dream the dreams that...
I do. I'm always hopefully optimistic that I will get what I want.
Cool.
When it comes to email, Outlook and Office 365 are fantastic, but sometimes there are things you'd like to do that aren't implemented. Sperry Software creates Outlook add-ins and Office 365 services that fill in these gaps. For instance, there are Outlook add-ins to automatically print emails and or attachments, save emails to PDF, send out recurring emails, or how about a warning when you're going to do a reply to all instead of a normal reply? Find these and many more email productivity solutions. Get started today by visiting www.sperrysoftware.com/cloudit.
So January, new licenses coming to everything across the eSuite, including Business Essentials and Business Premium.
Yeah. Guess what else came in January?
What else came in January?
A Stream app for iOS. The Android one apparently has been out for a while, and I think Microsoft got caught in that Christmas freeze of the App Store, which Omar tweeted this the other day that his phone was not working very hard because there were no apps to update. And I saw the same thing, like for 2 weeks, there were no apps. And then yesterday, a bunch of them hit, or 2 days ago, including the Stream app.
Yeah, so this was a funny one. I noticed there was an article that was published way back in September on docs.microsoft.com. And I think I sent you a link to it for watching Stream videos. And it went through and it had screenshots of the iOS and the Android app. And then way down at the bottom in a little itty bitty note, it was like, and by the way, this isn't actually available yet. It's like, oh, good.
Yeah.
They put it in there. So it is all out for Android, out for iOS as well. If anybody is looking to get them quickly, you can go to aka.ms/streamandroid or aka.ms/streamios. And those will go to the respective app stores for the Microsoft Stream application. So iTunes for iOS devices and the Google Play Store for Android devices. So pretty easy to hop in there and grab those quickly.
Yes. And this is a very beautifully done app, isn't it? Aren't you impressed?
It is, yes. We were kind of talking about this, and I think it's worthwhile running through it. It is definitely not the most mature app. It's brand new.
Yes, it's a first release.
Yeah, it does have some functionality in there which can be helpful. So you can go in and view all of the videos that are in your Stream tenant. We'll talk about how that has some downsides to it. You can also download your videos for offline viewing. So anything, maybe if you've gone into Stream, there's a little watch list component in there where you can go and add videos to your watch list. You might want to do that before you even fire up the mobile app because it's going to be a lot harder to find things on the mobile side. But once you've got that and you're all ready to go, log into the app and you can pull stuff offline. You can do closed captions. I'm not sure they followed some of their own like human interface guidelines, any of their kind of HIG. It's got a lot of transparency. A lot of stuff isn't discoverable. Like it took me 10 minutes to figure out how to turn on captions because it's not clear what's a button and what's a label and how things are going to come down to the application.
Yeah, and they do have the comments in there too, so you can have conversations about your videos and like the videos, like you said, the offline, the watch list. But so the big thing for me, and this is where my gripes and some of the first release is going to come off or start coming out and become very apparent, is that I have a lot of my videos, I added hashtags to the comments because the Stream desktop or the Stream site lets you add hashtags to be able to quickly find videos based on hashtags. It integrates nicely with groups. So you have this concept of channels to categorize videos. You have your Office 365 groups to assign videos to certain groups. None of that works in the Stream app. The app for iOS just gives you a massive list of every video you have access to in Stream without any sorting or categorization based on those channels or groups at all, which to me is kind of a I mean, that's a big deal to me. I have all my videos very nicely organized and categorized. So to not be able to find them by those two components on the Stream app it's a challenge.
Yeah, so you can search for things, but it's just doing kind of plain text search in the descriptions is what it looks like. And then it's got basic sorting as well. So because you're hopping in on that Discover pane or tab and it's throwing everything at you, it's by defaults to your trending videos through Stream. And then you can sort by relevance, published date, views, or likes. And that's it.
Yeah, the hashtags in the descriptions or the comments just show up as plain text. So you can't click on them or anything. So to your point, the way I would probably leverage it is, like you said, make all those watch lists in the web version of the app on your desktop. And then you'll have those watch lists on your mobile device for taking offline, for viewing, that type of thing. But again, like we said, it's just a first release that they'll continue to improve and update and add some of those additional sorting, grouping, that type of thing to the mobile app. I also don't think you can add videos. I didn't look. I don't see a way to upload videos. That would be kind of cool too. If you could record a video with your phone and upload it.
No, you can't upload videos through there. Not today.
Yeah, maybe someday. So yes, it is there. It is available. It does have some nice features. It is usable to work and watch videos, but some of the video sorting discoverability is a little lacking yet.
It does have support for Intune as well. So it supports both MDM and MAM policies, or mobile application management policies for that application. And then if anyone is interested in getting onto the beta versions of those mobile applications, there is a Microsoft form that can be filled out, and people can request access to at least the test flight beta for iOS devices.
I'm going to have to go find that. I think I might have filled it out once already, though. That's one of the few test flights I'm not on, is Stream. Time to go get on that list as well. So one other quick one, and we don't need to spend a ton of time on this one. I know you had a few Azure things you wanted to talk about too, but there are some new security and compliance offerings that are available now within Office 365. So in the past, when you really wanted to get into some of the security and compliance stuff around identity threat protection, maybe some information protection and compliance, the only real option was actually like the EMS, E5, and in some cases you needed Office 365 E5 and EMS E5. Microsoft is rolling out a couple new security and compliance packages that you can get as an add-on to like your E3 plan. So you're not going out and buying the full EMS, and it's kind of merging some of the features together. So they have their identity and threat protection package, which brings in some of the Office 365 stuff, the Windows stuff, and the EMS stuff, primarily around advanced threat protection. Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection, Microsoft Threat Protection, and bundles them all into this one license for $12 a month. So if you're looking to do that advanced threat protection, but don't want to go the full-blown Microsoft 365 E5, you can add that on. And then they also did an information protection and compliance package that takes some of that Azure information protection, some of the AI capabilities around that, and bundles that into another plan for $10 a month. So it gives you even more license options to consider. So all of this is still in the Microsoft 365 E5. If you're on that, don't worry about it. You're covered. You're going to have everything. Nothing's going to change. If you're on that Microsoft 365 E3 and want some of these additional security options without upgrading to the E5, go take a look at these packages. They're not quite available yet. You'll have to wait till February 1 to actually purchase them. But you can start looking into it, see if this is something that may interest you going forward.
Yeah, more ways to spend money on advanced licensing.
Yes, and
everything as a service.
More things to think about. It's not just, do I need E3 or E5? It's, do I need E3 in this package or E3 in this package? Or if I do E3 in both packages, maybe I should just buy E5. More licensing goodness. It keeps you and I busy.
Yeah.
Or it keeps me busy. Work to think about training videos.
You should just buy Microsoft 365 and be done with it.
I should, except that I don't use Windows 10.
It's still worth it for you. I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's somebody who will make the argument. I won't do it, but there's somebody who will.
Probably. Mover is a cloud migration company that specializes in moving your company's files from file servers or cloud storage like Box, Dropbox, and Google into Office 365. Their patented technology makes Mover the fastest OneDrive file migrator in the world. Moving dozens of terabytes of data a day is a breeze. Use Mover's free, industry-leading migration guides, or ask for a managed migration and they'll take the lead. With Mover, all your data is secure and intact. Running completely behind the scenes, you don't lose time, money, or hair while you transfer. Scan, plan, migrate, report. Migrations that don't suck with Mover. Visit mover.io for more info. So, did you want to talk about a few of the Azure tidbits and news that came out too? It looks like you put a bunch of container announcements in here.
Yeah, so there's been some interesting things going on in container land over in Azure. So to date, there's been a couple of different container services that are available to customers on the Azure platform. So there was the original container service, which was Azure Container Service, or ACS. And ACS let you do Docker or Docker Swarm orchestration, DCOS, Mesosphere, and Kubernetes as well. So it kind of had a container service with 3 orchestrators built into it. So that was all ACS, Azure Container Service. And then, of course, there's another service, which is called AKS, or Azure Kubernetes Service. So Azure Kubernetes Service, or AKS, came out well after ACS, and that only uses K8s as an orchestrator. So we had ACS, which had Kubernetes in it, and then we had Azure Kubernetes Service, which also had Kubernetes in it. And then to make it even more confusing, there was a third option as well, which was a GitHub project published under the Azure repo, which was called ACS Engine. And ACS Engine let you deploy unmanaged, so not managed in like a PaaS offering, but you manage them as a customer, clusters, container clusters with your orchestrator of choice through ARM templates and some YAML files and some simple spin up and configuration. So it's been a little confusing for containers over in Microsoft land.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
There's only a few. It's like, do you go by Pyrex or Tupperware or...
Yeah.
There's my cheesy dad joke. All my kids just rolled their eyes at me.
I actually like that one better than the whole, we always hit the slide with the picture of the container ship and the shipping containers. So I very much like the Pyrex thing. I think I'm going to have to go update some decks and make them a little wittier.
All right.
So there's been a bunch of these different things out there. And as AKS has matured, Azure Kubernetes Service, I think I've been looking to see what's going to happen with ACS. Does Kubernetes drop out of it and just Docker and DCOS stay around? Or does it go away completely? And the answer came out back in December that ACS is going to go away completely. So it is going to be retired on January 31st, 2020. So you do have a year's notice for this one to go ahead and move over to other more appropriate things or services if you have gone ahead and deployed today. So what's going to happen here is AKS is going to be the path forward for Kubernetes orchestration on Azure inside of a managed service. If you were doing ACS as a managed service for either Kubernetes, Docker, DCOS, you're going to have to look to some other things to use to continue to do that. So January 31st, 2020, all the ACS ARM APIs are going to be blocked. You cannot create new clusters. You won't be able to update. You won't be able to scale, anything like that. What you're going to have to do is, if you're using ACS with Kubernetes today, you're going to want to look at migrating to AKS, the managed PaaS offering, Or there is a project called AKS Engine, just like ACS Engine, which lets you do Kubernetes clusters in an unmanaged capacity. So spin up a new cluster, migrate your containers over, get up and running, all that good kind of stuff. If you're doing ACS with Docker Swarm, you are going to need to move to either the basic or advanced Docker Enterprise editions. There is a solution template, like an ARM template, to go ahead and get spun up with that, or, leverage the marketplace to spin that up. Or again, go ahead and create that infrastructure manually, do it however you want to stamp it out, whether that's CLI or PowerShell or an ARM template, and then just run an unmanaged cluster. Same thing for DCOS. There are solution templates out there for both the open source or enterprise versions of those. Spin up a brand new cluster, reconfigure the cluster, bring your containers over, validate, get up and running, do all the things that you need to do along the way. So if you're running it today, start thinking about what it's going to take to get that stuff over. If you're not running it today, I think it's pretty clear from this announcement that Kubernetes is kind of the way forward for managed platform as a service orchestration within the Azure platform. So AKS will be your path forward there, or you do have that AKS Engine project. I've worked with customers in the past who have done ECS Engine, and one of the biggest downsides to it was it's kind of an unofficial project. It's not exactly a supported thing. You don't get support from the product team, anything like that, right? Like if you're like a big premier customer, it can be a little bit rough. It's just this random thing sitting on GitHub. Same thing's going to happen with AKS Engine. Like if you want to be like in a first party supported offering, AKS is going to be the path forward there.
All right. So in this announcement too, we'll put it in the show notes, but it has links in there and those recommendations too that you just went over on. Hey, if you use this, migrate to this. If you use this, and it has links and articles about all of that. And like you said, it is not one of those where Microsoft will just provide a point-and-click migration. It's something you're going to have to choose which path you want going forward based on what you're using now. So start thinking, planning, maybe doing some test migrations of, hey, how does this all look once I migrate off of ACS onto one of these other platforms, so that you don't get surprised come the beginning of the year, especially because it's January. We all know how time can fly through December, and before you know it, you're like, I got to do this next week. Start thinking about it, planning ahead, looking at it now. Opsgility is your cloud enablement partner to help guide your organization through all phases of cloud migration and adoption. As the leading global brand for enabling the Microsoft Cloud, their Microsoft MVP and multi-certified cloud solutions architect team has authored over 20 mock courses, the Microsoft Pressbook implementing Azure Solutions 7533, and several Microsoft Cloud practice playbooks for Microsoft partners. Opsgility is the official learning partner for Microsoft, GitHub, Chef, Puppet, Databricks, Ansible, Red Hat, and many more technologies across the cloud ecosystem. Learn more about their advisory services and how they can help you reach and exceed your 2019 transformation goals at www.opsgility.com/home/advisory services.
A couple other container things as well. So it's not all doom and gloom out there, because stuff continues to move forward. So there is inside of Azure Monitor. So if you're running Azure today and you're looking at telemetry from the services you deploy or from the platform side, whatever it happens to be, activity log, metrics, things like that, or you're running up log analytics logs through Azure Monitor, they've had these things called Azure Monitor Insights. They're kind of hero experiences within Azure Monitor. There's one in there for containers. There's one in there for virtual machines, and kind of having better insights into the workloads that you might run up within your subscriptions. So Azure Monitor for Containers is one of those hero insights that went generally available back in December as well. So if you're running AKS clusters today, again, Azure Kubernetes Service, and you're looking for kind of out of the out-of-the-box telemetry that's coming from the platform, you can just go into Azure Monitor, and there's a container blade within there, which takes you into Container Insights, or again, that kind of hero experience. You can view multiple clusters. It's not limited to just a subscription, so you can go across subscriptions, resource groups, workspaces, however you're doing it, to build custom rollups. You get full performance grid views, and you get access to the live logs that are coming out of your clusters as well. So that's a live stream of the log that you can stop, start, pause, do whatever you need to do. But it's 100% real time, which is pretty cool. So there's a couple ways to onboard into that. If you're using the CLI, it's just a single command to go ahead and fire that up. You can do it via ARM template. There's even orchestration built into Terraform. So if you're using TF to go ahead and deploy clusters, all that's sitting there ready to go. So that's all really cool. One of the issues that came about when they did that was to get all that telemetry out. There's some little agents that need to run on the nodes within your cluster, right? You've got that kind of compute, and it's got to monitor your pods and see what's going on and get all that information back out and written into log analytics so that it can be surfaced inside of Azure Monitor for everybody to go ahead and query. So one of the other things they did back in December as well was they introduced an auto upgrade feature for the agent. So in the past, you had to watch for service updates and make sure that, hey, I'm going to go in and update this thing as needed. You can go ahead, and now you have some more flexibility with being able to disable collection of certain events based on environment variables. And there were just general bug fixes and things like that. So if you are running AKS today and you're doing Azure Monitor Insights for containers, and you want to get onto the latest and greatest version, and the one where you're going to go ahead and have auto updates, you've got to do a couple of things. To upgrade agents, it's not a kind of one and done thing to go ahead and say, all right, we're going to just fire off a command and upgrade. You actually have to go in and disable monitoring. That's pretty easy with the Azure CLI to go ahead and do that. Once you've disabled monitoring, you can go ahead and onboard back into monitoring. When you re-onboard, it deploys the latest version of the agents, and then boom, you should be kind of good from here on out because you'll be on the auto updated version. You're just still going to have to kind of monitor and track and make sure that those agents are actually updating. Because you're fully offboarding from monitoring and then onboarding again, you're actually going to lose some telemetry. So there's about 15 minutes or so where it kind of takes things to rewire and kind of straighten their life out and start writing all that stuff back into log analytics and getting it to where it needs to be.
All right. And it looks like this is kind of going back to our last announcement too, is this is only for AKS as ACS is going away. So if you do want to roll out some of this Azure monitoring stuff for your containers, you have to be on the AKS.
Correct. Yeah. If you're doing unmanaged containers with, it doesn't matter, Docker Swarm, you're doing AKS, you're doing DCOS, whatever it happens to be, you can continue to go ahead and collect telemetry from those as you do today. Maybe you do pump that data into log analytics. Maybe you don't. Maybe you send it someplace else. However you want to do that, you can absolutely still continue to do. This is meant to be an integrated offering for the PaaS service of AKS.
All right. Perfect. Sounds good. Lots of fun container announcements.
Yeah, no. There's always fun stuff going on out there.
Yes, it never slows down. All right. So should we call that a day? Call that the end of episode. Looks like this is episode 109.
Yeah, now that you said it out loud, it's going to have to be.
Now it has to be 109. No changing it now. I thought about that. I almost didn't say it. I said it. All right. So,
all right. Well, I'll let you go. I gotta grab more coffee.
Sounds good. Yes, I am almost out of coffee and have some work to do. So enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend, and we will talk to you next week, Scott.
Thanks, Ben.
If you enjoyed the podcast, go leave us a 5-star rating in iTunes. It helps to get the word out so more IT pros can learn about Office 365 and Azure. If you have any questions you want us to address on the show or feedback about the show, feel free to reach out via our website, Twitter, or Facebook. Thanks again for listening and have a great day.